So using the Discover section has some useful links there. But if we go into devices and then click on the device, let's go for the Apple Watch this time. You're going to find yourself spending a fair amount of time in here because there is so much information on your device available. I can see how it's connected, which Apple ID is signed in. I've got the name, the model, the OS, the serial numbers there, as well as the unique device ID. I can even see which device it's paired to at the bottom there. But that's not all. If I scroll, we have a wealth of information there, including at the bottom there, a breakdown of the storage. We can see the high-level overview of the storage. I've got the current battery charge. And even though there aren't many for the watch, we have got some quick actions on the right here. So a fair amount of information on the watch. However, if I come back and go into my iPhone, there is certainly a lot more in here. So at the top, we can click any of these to browse that information on the device. We're going to be coming to these later. And then down here, we have device information, very similar to the watch, but obviously this is our iPhone info. Then on the right, an absolute wealth of quick actions available. We can quickly transfer files, back up the device. We can manage its apps, export data. Just look at all of this that we can do. And the chances are you're probably only going to leverage maybe 20% of this, but that 20% that you use is going to be worth it. And just like the watch, at the bottom, we've got storage and battery information. Okay, let's take a dive into one of iMazing's most important features, and that's backups. So I'm going to click on backups here, and we can see I haven't carried out any at the moment. So I'm going to come down here and click on backup now. Now my devices are listed, and even though I know it's going to take a while, I'm going to back up my iPhone 16 Pro Max. Now I'm taken into my backup options. And this is quite interesting actually, because as I said earlier, I have uninstalled iMazing a few times on here whilst I've been working through the outline. And even though I enabled backup encryption the first time I installed this, I can see it's actually maintained that setting there. Now, the first time that I ran this, backup encryption was off. So if I turn this off now, what happens? I genuinely don't know. Okay, it says I need my encryption password to be able to turn encryption off. Okay. Let's do that and click OK. I'm prompted for my passcode on the iPhone, which you can't see here, but I'm just going to tap that in. And there we are. Encryption's off. So this is how it's going to look the first time you run a backup. So I'm going to enable it again. And it says quite clearly, this is going to protect all future backups of this device. It's important to note this is a setting I'm applying to this device, not to all iMazing backups. So I'll enter in the encryption password twice here. I just need to unlock my phone again. And now all backups of this device are going to be encrypted. Superb. Next, we have the backup location. Now there is a default location added, which is on the local drive on my MacBook Pro here. And it tells me quite clearly how much space is available. And this will do for now. However, at some point, I'm probably going to want to back up elsewhere, like on an external drive or some form of NAS device, in which case click on Backup Location Preferences, and then you can simply add a new location in here. I'm not going to at this point though, I'm just going to cancel out of here. And again, this is set per device and not for everything in iMazing. Next, in the sidebar, we have Backup Snapshots, and these are arguably iMazing's single most powerful feature. So unlike iCloud and Finder, which each keep only one backup per device, constantly overwriting the previous one, iMazing preserves every backup as a separate point-in-time snapshot, meaning you can go back days, weeks, or even months to retrieve something you didn't even know you'd lost yet. Think of it like Time Machine for your iPhone. If you accidentally delete a conversation, or lose a note, or an application update wipes your data, the snapshot you need is sitting right there waiting for you. And this is the toggle that enables them. Then, of course, the more snapshots you have, the less space you're going to have on your target device. So you can set this toggle here to automatically delete old snapshots. And then this drop down here gives the oldest age that a snapshot can have before it gets deleted. And then if you're really concerned about this, there's a checkbox here to make sure you're always asked for permission before any backup snapshots are deleted. Now this green call out box here is essentially a summary of all of the settings above. So if I change this to 2 weeks, we can see that's changed down here too. And then finally, we have automatic backups. Oh, whoops, I didn't save that last change I made. So let me just do that. Okay, automatic backups are enabled here. So this is something that you can just set and forget. And I'm actually going to set this up a little bit later after we've finished our first backup. So I'm going to click down here to start. The backup process begins, and I need to enter a passcode on my phone to start the backup. So I'll unlock. And because this is the first backup of this device, and we already saw that it's about 75% full, this is going to take a while. So I'm going to pause and go for a run or something, and then I'll be back. Okay, that did take quite a while in the end, but we can see it backed up just over 141,000 files. The size is just under 106 gigabytes there, and the total time there around 50 minutes. So actually not too bad. I'm quite happy with that. And what we're going to see is that future backups, now that we've got this main one, are going to be much smaller. Now, where's this backup located? We can see here in backups, we now have our first backup in play. It's down here. We can see the date and time that it was made, and we can see where it's stored as well. Okay, I've just put my iPhone on the screen there. You can see it's the same one. I've got the name and the model down here. I'm using the bezel application to capture this. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click here and go into this particular backup. Now, sometimes it may be a little bit confusing to know whether you're looking at the current device or if you're looking at a backup information. But over here on the left, we can see quite clearly the exact backup that we're in. And we can see it up here as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into notes here. And we can see here, it's currently extracting data from that backup. And here we have my Apple Notes structure here, lots of folders over here on the left. Let me just expand this out a little bit. And we've got our individual notes here. Now, if we just focus on the iPhone for a short while, I can see this note structure is, of course, exactly the same because the backup has only just been taken. I haven't made any changes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to this note called Kixby, and I'm going to swipe and delete it. So that's now gone. And I'm going to tap and just quickly create a new note. There we are. I'll tap to add that. And what I also think I'm going to do, if I just come into my folder list, I think I'm going to delete this folder called My Lists. And there we are. I'm going to remove and delete them. Now, I know that note is going to go into the recently deleted folder in Notes. I do get that. But if that 30 days had passed, I could restore this particular note, and we're going to look at restore options a little bit later in the video. But I can also right click and we can see some different export options there. Now, what's going to happen if I back up the device now? Well, there's been a change because obviously I've added a new note. I've deleted some old ones, and some other stuff's probably been happening on the device in the background. So to very quickly kick off another backup, I'm going to come into devices, click on my iPhone. Then over here in my quick actions, I'm going to click on backup. Once more, I need to enter a passcode to start it off. And it's running. And like before, I'm going to pause, but I don't think I've got time for a run this time. This shouldn't take too long. Okay, that's done. So here we are with the stats for this particular backup. And as you can see, much smaller. It only took just over 6 minutes to run. Now, the total backup size may look large, but what you'll find is that is the total of the main backup as well as this snapshot. Okay, let's click on my device here. And we can see up here, we're currently looking at the device information right now. This is not backup information, but if I click this, I now get a list of the snapshots that have been taken. I've got the first big backup here at the bottom, and then that smaller incremental one that we just took here. If I click on the bottom one, I get taken into that backup. And again, I can see that by the name of the backup displayed over here in the sidebar. Now on that first backup, if I come into notes, it's going to wait for it to extract the data. And then we know, of course, that I'm not going to see that note we just created. And the one that I deleted is available here for me to be able to restore or export or just view. And down here in our folder list, I can see the My Lists folder. Now from here, I can actually click up at the top and choose another snapshot to look at. So it's taken me directly into the notes here. Again, just need to wait for the data to be extracted. And we can see that new note that we created is at the top. Down here, we can see our deleted note. It's displayed like that because it's actually sitting in the recently deleted folder. And then down here, something similar with the My Lists folder. But there's currently no files in there. Now, when you connect your iPhone to iMazing, some data is immediately accessible without any backup required. Things like your photos, videos, music files, and other media. So if I come into Photos here, we can see it's loading, and before long, I can see that data okay. There was no backup required. However, certain data types are protected by Apple in a way that means iMazing needs to create at least a partial backup before it can read them. And that list includes some of the most valuable data on your phone. So your messages, WhatsApp conversations, call history, and more. Now, if I go into messages, you'll see that we have two options. At the top here, we can display messages from our latest backup, or we can load data from the device. But that means we need to perform an incremental backup. And this is one example of how security conscious Apple is. It doesn't want this data to be accessed, which is why iMazing needs to back it up first. That way the data can then be read. So here I'm going to start off an incremental backup, and I'm just going to pause and let that finish. Right, that's just finishing off. But one difference between doing a normal incremental backup and accessing data in this way is that it's not going to display the statistics at the end. Instead, it's going to take you straight into that data. And this is my live device, and actually I've had to blur quite a lot of this out. But now, of course, this means that if I come up and click, I've now got a third snapshot that's been added, and it's called Backup for Data Refresh, because it's just been created so that we can access this message data. Now, if I click on Backup Snapshots, I'm taken to a window that allows us to manage them.